My name is Plexi Cosplay, so this is the how to make a cosplay build book, I think is what I called it. And I also have accumulated many build books from other cosplayers, so we can look at what other people have also made, and maybe that will give you some inspiration. I'm going to go through a little bit of the digital design part with Canva, which is a free web-based software that you can access. I have a paid version of it, but that way you can kind of get an idea of how to easily design these build books in a better way than maybe importing photos into Microsoft Word, which is a very valid way to do this, but if you want to make them look real fancy, this is the way to do it. So I'd like to start by asking you guys, does anyone have particular things that they're really interested in learning about in this panel, like something that you're kind of really stuck on and you really want me to touch on that during this? Anybody? No. That's okay. Yeah.
So, condensing your work in 10 days.
Yeah, okay. So we're trying to take a monumental amount of information that you probably have and want to get across and condense it down into something that's actually useful in a competition. Does anyone actually do competitions at this point? Okay, so some, and I'm guessing other people might want to or have a different reason for making a build book. That's cool. Anything else that we're really interested in? Yeah.
So more so just a general question. Do all cosplay contests require a build book?
At this time, for the most part, yeah. It used to not be that way, that only some of them did, and whenever COVID happened, we had a lot more online competitions, and the only way to really get the point across was through video, and they usually required a build book. Because of that and how successful that was, more and more competitions in person started asking for them, and now at this point, I think it's rarer to not have a competition ask for a build book. So we're going in that direction. If you haven't seen it yet, you probably will. So yeah.
And a quick follow-up.
Yes.
Do they have to be digital, or can they?
They don't have to be digital, no. So it's different from competition to competition, but a lot of times you're actually bringing in a physical copy of this. So whether that's printed out, or maybe you got it on Shutterfly, like made into a book, which I will give you many reasons why that's fun. There's many ways you can do it. Sometimes, for instance, whenever I'm judging maybe some of the crown qualifiers, people will bring in a physical copy, but they will actually give the judges an iPad with the digital build books, and they'll say, here's this next person that's coming in, and then we get to flip through it on the iPad first. And then if you bring in the physical copy, that's cool. Like, I'll usually look through that while whenever you're in the room with me, my whole focus is looking at your costume. I usually have like 5 minutes, so I want to make sure I see what I want to see in person, and I kind of keep an idea in my head of things that I had questions about, and then I'll look at your build book after. So I usually have a minute or two before, and then after is when we get a little bit more time with it if there's anything that I needed to clarify. When you're in there with us, like I might flip through it while someone else is asking a question just to be like, oh, that's a really cool thing that I would have missed had I not seen it in the book. But yeah, so physical, digital, sometimes both. Just check your contest. Anything else that we want to really touch on for this? Okay, cool. So I have right now pulled up someone's build book. I think Nerds Gone Mild has the best build books I've ever seen. They are always more than happy to share their build books with you. They have won C2E2. They have judged many of these competitions. And
C2E2, the whole shebang.
The whole shebang, and with that costume actually. And so I'd like to start with this one just because they really nailed it on the digital design part, but I will tell you why some of these pages in here might not be great for the competition, because think about it. Say I'm judging 40 people. You each get 5 minutes. You have like a few minutes before and a few minutes after that I get to look at this, plus your 5 minutes. Whenever you shove all of those people into a day of judging, it means that at the end I actually don't have a ton of time to really read these build books. So I'm looking for like quick facts, lots of photos. There are different reasons to make build books, and some of them aren't just for competitions. And Nerds Gone Mild is a really good example of this because part of the reason they make build books is because it's part of the journey of creation. It's a record of everything that you did, and it goes with the costume. So it's like memories, really. And so they really go into a deep dive not only for the judges, but for themselves. And so if you're not planning on competing, build books are still really cool to have. I like to kind of keep them alongside my costumes. And then even if I sell a costume, I still have those memories with me and the build process. So I'll just scroll through a little bit. For a build book, usually the first pages should focus on whatever the character is that you're portraying, because a lot of times we don't know what that character is, so you want to have screenshots, if it's a game or a movie or whatever, of the character, and then also pictures of yourself, obviously. So she's saying Aloy from Horizon Forbidden West, so that is the character plus the game. So usually adding both of those is helpful for us. They set this up similar to other books and magazines in that you have a sort of a walkthrough on that first page of what to expect and where to find things. I will say it's really helpful for judges, because if you come in and I'm like, oh, this part of this skirt, I'm really interested in that. If you don't have a way for me to find that quickly in your book, I might not be able to go and clarify it later. And then I'm stuck with just kind of whatever information I can glean from you in the 5 minutes that I have you in the room with me. I don't get to ask you more questions later. So really those 5 minutes are important for me. But having that walkthrough is really helpful. She does a really good job of also breaking this down visually. Keep in mind, part of taking all of this information that you have and making it digestible to us as judges is making it visual. So the easier that I can find everything, the better it is for you, because I can judge you more appropriately that way, if that makes sense. So she breaks it down by parts of the costume and has a few just quick snapshots in the beginning of some of the favorite or important parts. This is the part where I'm saying this is written more for them than it is for the judges, because I might be able to read some of that. There is no way if everybody sent me this that I'd be able to read all of it. So you can make build books for yourself, just still make sure that you have parts in here that are visual for your judges. Yeah.
When you are doing competitions, is there a, just because I've never done competitions,
Yeah.
is there a standardized guideline of what needs to be included?
For the build books?
Yeah.
Sometimes, but a lot of times no. So you're really out here on your own. They just say you need to have a build book. You can make it as comprehensive or not as you want. So use that to your advantage. This is the time where you can take these like little tidbits that I'm telling you are important for the judges and put those to use, because a lot of people are, this is part of the reason I made this panel is because a lot of people hear build book and they're like, what does that mean? I don't even understand how to make that. Do I do it in Word? What do I do? What do you want?
Can I add one thing?
Yeah.
So something I've also seen people do is they actually use the build book as a reference for every material they put in. They'll have swatches in their build book.
Yep. Yep.
So like if they have a physical book, they'll have like pieces of fabric or materials. So like they have a record of what went into the costume and what they were using for
Yeah.
it. So.
And that's helpful for us, but again, it's good for you just to have it for later. So she does a like deep dive on all of these pieces. I would not be able to read that in a competition, but at the same time, then she caters to the judges here, giving us all of the in-depth photos of the walkthrough of each. So it not only shows what is going on in the costume, it proves that they did it. Very important. We have everything broken down into the pieces and then also by sections of the costume. Very helpful. With this, I don't need any words to be able to see exactly how she made this part. That is so helpful for me. Like I know that there was a base, I know what she used to put on top of that base and the materials that went into it. I know how she went through the painting process without having to read a single word. So having that walkthrough, even if you have words on one side and photos on the other, making it really clear, if you can take all the words out, does it still make sense? Yeah. Sure. So the question was, do judges put more weight on photos that are taken with a nice camera versus a potato?
No, my camera phone.
Your camera phone, got it. My camera phone is a potato, I will tell you that. So basically, as long as it's clear enough for us to see, it doesn't have to be high quality images. That is a barrier to access, if I'm gonna be frank. I just need to know that it exists. I need to be able to kind of get an easy sense for it. It doesn't have to be like high resolution. That's not,
Pretty sure those are all cell phone photos.
I think these are cell phone photos, like it's fine enough. So this is just an overview of how they're doing it, and I'll show you her other build book as well, but you can kind of see what I mean here. You can see how it was built without reading any of those words. Yeah.
So when you're talking about reference photos, a lot of times is that more for context or comparison?
Depends. So they're asking about reference photos. Is that more for context? Like, what's the point of reference photos, basically? For accuracy. So I need to know if you actually did what you intended to do. And this can change from contest to contest. So some contests do not allow original designs, because with original designs, you can make a mess up but play it off like it was fine, and we won't know the difference, and it honestly doesn't matter at that point. For something like C2E2, or you have reference artworks or something like that, we want to make sure that they've achieved what they intended to. I don't care how you achieved it. I don't care if you went out, like they cut grasses out of their yard for this, which is actually a bonus. That was really cool. But as long as you achieved the goal, that's what we're looking for. So the reference is super important, especially because I do not know all these characters too. So it's a good way for me to compare if you actually did what you wanted. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Would that like be a gray, like if you do like the helmet from one of the sets and like the body, like is that something you'd want to like clear the competition before you try to do it?
If you're ever, so the question was if, for instance, this character has a mix of armor that you can swap out armor in the new games, like a body with a different armor, whatever. And how important is this? Do you want to clarify this with the competition? If you ever have questions about character designs, artwork references, what's acceptable and not, you email the competition. They usually have that email listed. They'll clarify it for you, because what you don't want to do is get there and then they disqualify you. But a lot of times, if it exists in the game like that, just as like an umbrella thing, as long as it exists in the game, then that is not considered an original design. Like that's part of something that pre-exists. Yeah. Yeah, some are very strict, some are a little whatever. That's neither here nor there. That's just a competition's rules. So you just want to make sure you're clear on that before you go. Do you have a question? Okay, good. Anyone else so far? Okay.
Just like follow up.
Yes.
Because like large reason I was asking is for if you're looking to achieve something that doesn't have like a canonical like actual appearance, so like anything from the books.
Yes. Yeah, so anything that doesn't have a canonical look, so from books and stuff. And you wanted to ask like about competitions, whether or not that's acceptable or how we do that?
Yeah, like how you're saying that it's like a case-by-case basis, but you're saying that some of them a lot of times will allow these reference pictures,
Yes.
like just like showing that you have like an end goal that you're trying to achieve, but when you're not getting there, like that's really important.
Yeah, so like how does this translate into a build book and what we're trying to achieve? So a lot of times if there's a book, so there's book and a character, you want to cosplay from that book, you want to enter in a competition, you'll usually find a way to make artwork, or you'll sketch it up yourself so that we know what you're trying to do. Now, obviously that gets a little fishy if someone like starts it and then they're like, it didn't go well, so I'll just change my original sketch. And so that's why a lot of competitions don't allow original designs. But
It depends. Sometimes if there's an artist who's very prolific and they're well known, they'll be like, yeah, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But it has
Yeah.
to be from like a well-known like fan
like
artist.
Hannah Alexander art, like that's a very famous artist with lots of people that cosplay from that. That art doesn't change. You can't go back and change that. That is what it is.
Sakizo, no flutter.
Sakizo is another one. Yep. So, but those you want to include. Get it pre-approved. Yeah. Check if it's not clear in the rules. Email them. They will get back to you. That's a common thing that they get questions about. So, so let's go to another person's. Just wanted to kind of give you a little rundown of how that was. Yes.
I have more of a question.
Yeah.
The thing I also noticed about her build book is the formatting includes similar graphics to the game itself.
Mm-hmm.
Expected, or is that more kind of like a flourish, like,
Yeah, so the question was, well, not more of like a comment that her build book reflects a lot of the game elements and designs and the way that she designed it. That's part of the joy for her. And I just know that because they've said it. You don't have to do that. This can be as simple like dragging an image in Microsoft Word, typing some stuff. I've had people cut out photos, like they'll just print out a bunch of game photos, glue them on a piece of paper, and literally handwrite beside it. So it's a matter of what you have access to, what you're able to do, what you're willing to do, and this one is a what you want to do. Yeah, yeah.
It's like, okay, she's like familiar with the game.
Yes, she's familiar.
She loves this character.
She loves this character, she really loves the design, and I know that they really like having these build books to be a reflection of the high-level craftsmanship. So it is nicer, honestly, like that feels nice to come in, but it will not hold you back. Like that, I'm judging your costume, I'm not judging how well designed your build book is. Yeah. So this is another one of theirs. Again, same kind of design aspects. They're using, and I don't know if she uses Adobe or Canva, we'll have to ask later. But you can see how we have everything broken down, and there's sort of a flow to it. It makes sense as I'm going through the book. Let's pull up someone else's here. All right, so this one, Puppy Cat. I love Puppy Cat. All right, so Puppy Cat. We've got bullet points are great for build books. I will highly recommend. I'm not going to read a paragraph, but I can read some bullet points. And again, this one is a nice, more of a hand-drawn sort of a thing on some of these, but still breaking down that costume into the sections that they want us to pay attention to. Lots of photos, and this is fine. These are, looks like screenshots from stories. Totally fine, absolutely acceptable, just so long as I could see the process as you're going through it. Good process on the wig as well. And again, we're just having on the side some of the materials that went into it and some of the processes. If there's something that you're really proud of or that you really want to highlight, I would recommend making those like full pages on their own, because that shows to me what you want me to draw my eye to. This is the same for whenever you're going in and getting judged. You don't have to tell them about every part of your costume. Pick out the most impressive parts. Like, just quick tip there. Go up to this one. We've got a bunch of going. Queen Amidala was a really good one too. So same sort of situation with this. The first page being either the character or a picture of you in the costume, announcing what the character is, maybe what the actual costume is, since some characters wear different costumes, and then the competitor name. We do, at the very end, after we've judged everybody, we have everyone's build books out, and it's really nice to be able to see on the very front page, because I can remember that very quickly, and we can pull those out and take a look. And we do. When we're sitting there judging, be like, what about this person? What about this? And we'll pick up the build book and start flipping through it and say, oh, right, that part was really cool. Let's look a little more into that. This one, I would imagine she would have probably had the swatches, because there's a lot of focus on the textiles, so probably swatches within the build book as well. And again, taking the full costume and then breaking it into those pieces for us, so you can tell what the main parts of the costume are that they want us to focus on. Again, full photo page. I don't have to read a single thing on this to see what that process was as I went through it. I do like how they have the planning out on here. It's just nice to see what their thought process was and how they went about the construction. Not that it doesn't matter a whole lot, because I'm judging the final craftsmanship. I'm not judging how you got there, but it is nice to see kind of the thought process and did they miss something really important. So we have...
I mean, you are judging the fact that they made their own patterns.
I do need to have proof that you made it, and it is nice, yeah, if they're making their own patterns, put that in there, for sure, yeah.
Would you say that, it's like, should we put in like trial and errors, like in your process? Like, oh, I was doing it this way, but actually, like, it didn't work out at all, and so then I switched.
I'm sure opinions are different, so the question was, should you put trial and errors, failures in there? No.
No.
Don't. I don't know, I'm
Never
sure
tell a
somebody would
judge
say
your
yes.
failures.
Yeah,
Never,
I don't,
ever, ever.
You don't have to tell me that, but if you want like it for your own thing, keep it on your own. But what you're trying to do is present to the judges that you have the best craftsmanship. Like, that's the whole point of entering that competition. I don't need to know like the storyline of your character. I truly don't. And I also don't need to know that you failed. So keep those for yourself. I'm sure, again, somebody else out there says that they want it, but
I've had people come up to me and immediately tell me what they did wrong.
Oh, it's the worst.
And it's the worst, because you're like, no.
no, I didn't. I would have never seen it. Why would you say that? Yeah, it's hard, and I know it's hard because we all want to kind of like that impacts us a lot. When you have a failure and you're like, that's the only thing that I notice. Just, it's a stuff it down with the feeling shover downer.
I've also had people come up to me and instead of telling me about their costume, give me a 5-minute rundown on the backstory of their character. Don't do that.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Like, that's cool and all, maybe hit me up later, but I'm only here to judge your craftsmanship. That's it. Yes?
How would you consider a pattern that somebody made by themselves and crafted by themselves versus someone who followed a pattern that already existed?
I will say we value when you make your own patterns. It's about, it's like buying a costume versus making your own.
Who has
Both-
the widest skill set?
Yeah, like both are equally valuable in cosplay in general, but in a craftsmanship contest, I'm judging your craftsmanship, and if you crafted your own pattern and you crafted, the final piece, like all of those things get taken into account for that. So yeah, we do value that more for craftsmanship, but I would say that's different if you're going into a contest and it's performance-based.
Yeah.
I don't think they're gonna care as much. Yes,
This might be a little nitpicky.
it's fine.
What if you like actually had a pattern and purposely deviated from it?
Oh, yeah, that's, yeah.
You're modifying a pattern, you do want to put that in here. Like, say that you did all these modifications because of this, this, and this. It's the same reason why if somebody uses a material that might not be quite the right material, but they modified it and made it work, like, that's important. I want to know why you did it. It shows me you paid attention to that, and that's part of craftsmanship.
Ingenuity.
Yeah, like, that matters, sure, yeah.
What if you had help?
Like, an assistant or something?
Owner designed the pattern,
Mm-hmm.
but I made the costume.
Yeah, I mean, that's like, that you might as well be buying a pattern if it's somebody else made the pattern. Like, I wouldn't even honestly include, you could say it's a,
Cons have rules on how much of the costume you make yourself.
you personally, yeah, not your helper, but you personally. And so there's usually like an 80% or 60% or something. But a lot of that, like, when you think about it, are your undergarments handmade? Well, then that's part of that 20% that's you didn't
Did you
make.
your shoes?
Did you make your shoe?
your
So you
wig?
really need to be making everything else then. I don't expect you to like weave your own fibers like Nerds Gone Mild, but
Because people will make their entire wig from scratch.
people become shoe cobblers, and I'm like, what is this? But I mean, it's impressive, but y'all are wild. Yeah. Yes.
What about cosplay duos, like people that work in a team, or like, but usually they don't have like the one for the model, as it were?
Then you both go.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're asking about cosplay duos and like how does that work? And every contest is also going to be different. Sometimes they put duos in a whole different category, even if one person's wearing them. Like Cowboy Crunchies, they work as a team, but have one costume that goes up and one person. So, just check your rules too. You just want to know it's all good to go. I like how all of these people who are like these high craftsmen, because I would just like to give you a heads up. I didn't look through these build books before opening them, and they are all very similar in the setup. And I'm so happy to see that because obviously that shows that what we're saying is right here. Start off with your main thing. This one is a side-by-side of the character and the costume, which is kind of nice. But then it's easy for me to point out whose this was whenever I need to go pick it out later. I'm going to find a way to share all these in a Dropbox later, so either like follow me on Instagram or something, because I'm going to put the link up, and then everybody can go see all of these build books on your own time and pick through them if that's helpful for you. But you'll see for this, whenever they made their own pattern, they show the patterning process. So I don't have to read, I can see that he made his own pattern for that. Easy, yeah. Guarantee I would never read this little paragraph here, but it's nice to have.
Yeah.
All right, do we have any further questions on that? Because otherwise, I will start taking you through some Canva stuff and showing you how to do some just simple design. Yes,
I have one. and
Yes.
This is probably more like discussion I've gotten with other judges. When it comes to a lot of 3D printing, as technology is, moving a lot towards that too. How do you guys judge that fairly against someone who has spent hours with 3D foam?
Did you model it? Did you sand it? Did you finish it to a point where you can't see the print lines?
so the question is 3D printing, and how do we value that against someone who does something out of EVA foam versus maybe someone that's sculpting it out of clay or whatever. Everyone's going to be a little different. My thing for armor, I have this whole theory. So people, after contests, they're like, needlework won again. All these people with their big ball gowns and whatever. It's a woman. whatever kind of BS thing comes up, right?
Patriarchy.
It's stupid. All of it's dumb. And I just have to hold my tongue. But needlework and armor categories. Armor is big and it's impressive. We have like 10 or 15 years worth of not metalworking armor building to pull from and experience. Needlework has centuries of experience. We have, people have been wearing clothes for a long time, and there are many ways to do things right and many ways to do them wrong, and we kind of know what they are. So they have all of this education to pull from, all of these different things. Foam and 3D prints and anything that's fake armor, it's so new and evolving that it's really easy to mess up still. So when someone comes in armor, my very first thing that I see is, did it fool me? Do I think it's metal? Because if it's not, it's probably not going to win. It has to fool me. I have to think it's metal. So that, to me, is always the level you're trying to reach with foam, with 3D prints. The way to make those not reach that level for foam, it's not finishing your seams. You've got like things that are warped and funny looking, cracked paint, all of that. For 3D prints, it's easy to mess up there too. You got your sand lines, lots of seams on that too. And I can tell whether or not you modeled it usually because a lot of the more common models, you just kind of know. And I also, the way that I find out if somebody made it or not is say, how did you model that? I am skilled in 3D design software. I would say, well, how did you do that? And if they answer the question in a way that's like not super clear, it's pretty easy to tell whether or not they modeled it. People try to fool us. So I do not weigh a 3D print versus a foam build any differently. I just need to know whether or not you fooled me.
The amount of time it takes to finish a 3D print to a like really high level
It's
is
hard.
insane.
It's hard.
It genuinely, when the guy's like, oh, I spent 100 hours on this armor, and I'm like, you spent 100 hours? No, it took 100 hours to print on my printer. And I'm like,
Yeah.
No.
So they just said, oh, I spent $100 on my armor. Does it still look like dog doo-doo? Because that was 100 hours of nothing. So I actually don't care how long it took you to make your costume. You tell me it took you 10 days and then you're competing in championships. If it looks real good, I got some questions how you did that. I want to know. But it's not a time thing, you know? It could take you 3 years. It could take you 3 days. I just need to know that it looks really good and that you did it yourself. That's it. Again, all barriers to access is what we're kind of bringing up here, like whether or not somebody's capable of doing something in that amount of time. It's your time, you know? You're just presenting to me what you made. That's it. And I want everyone to walk out of those things feeling really good too. So like my whole time in those 5 minutes that you have with me, I'm going to take your build book. I will look at it. All judges look at the build books, promise. They're not useless. But to really focus on your costume, to really flip over your seam, see things that I can't see very clearly in the build book, especially if you're taking photos and they're printed out and they're not very clear, that's okay. I have 5 minutes with you. So that's my time there.
I have another reason why build books are
Yeah.
becoming more popular now. One of the reasons build books are becoming more popular in contests these days, they help prevent cheating.
Yes. Although some people are real sketch about that
there
too.
have been a
But
couple of people who've been really sneaky and managed to do it, but like I think 95%, 99% of the time, if you are having to make a build book and you're trying to get in and you didn't make the costume, it's going to prevent cheating in the costume contest.
I do have to say, I did see someone with a really nice build book, and it turns out one of their family members made it, and made
Yeah.
a build book, and they
Yeah, so like it doesn't, it's not foolproof, but it does help
Yeah.
prevent a lot of it.
so build books help prevent cheating. My questions in person help to prove it. So I do ask questions. I am genuinely interested, but a lot of times the questions, whenever they ask you, if you get asked by a judge, like, how did you make it? Like, really tell them. You don't have to, like, play cutesy and be like, oh, no, I did this. Like, just tell me. It'll be fine. Yeah.
To add on that point, I know at least one contest that is now requiring swatches.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
that's the same reason.
Yep. Yep.
Check your con rules.
Yeah, every con's different, and a lot are really picky about things that you thought were a common thing somewhere else. Yeah. It's fine. So, yeah, the question was, is there a standard length of build book? And we had a point earlier, how do you condense it into 10 pages? For me, 10 pages or less, if you get longer than that, I am not reading your novel. Like, it is not happening. We're going like this through the iPad. So I would say 10 or less is really the goal. I would do for each section, so you have like torso, head, or whatever the main pieces are, you have like one page dedicated to all photos, and maybe one that's photos and some texty bullet points, and then go to the next part. So you have like 5 sections, there's your 10 pages, and then you have like a cover and a back. So that's what I would stick with, yeah.
When designing the flow of your build book, would you, in terms of presenting it to the judges, would it be best to go essentially top to bottom or from under to outer layer? Because I know a lot of costumes, for example, will have like petticoats,
Yeah.
petticoats, cape.
Yes.
Or would it be like focusing on the bonnet first and then the bodice and then the skirts and then the shoes kind of thing?
I don't think there's like a judge preference really. It's kind of up to you. I'm a head to toe person. Other people might be like the most complex piece to the least, or outer to under all the way. Any will do. I don't think any of these in particular have specifics. I would keep your props to the last. Props should always be extra. Just as a side note, don't make your prop super amazing and then do your costume and enter a contest. The prop is extra. So props, any extras, go to the end. Yeah. Okay. So if we're in Canva is what I like to use. If you do Adobe Illustrator, think of this like Adobe Illustrator for Dummies. It is very easy. It is a Cliff Notes version. It just very visual, and you can use it for free. This is not something you have to pay for. It's a web-based thing. And you do your email password to log in, and it will always save all of your previous designs down in here. So I have lots and lots of things saved. Canva, C-A-N-V-A. I'm not paid by Canva. I never have been or will be. I have to pay for my own Canva account. Like, just FYI, this is not like a Canva class, but it kind of is. As a side note, I work for a public library system. So I'm the manager of a makerspace and teaching kitchen, and it's in Carroll County, which is about 2 hours from here. And a lot of what we teach there is education on how to do digital design. It includes like for lasers and everything else too. So if you really want to use maybe Adobe, you want to take this up to the next level, check your local library. They might have access to that software for free. That's something that we provide there as well, but your library might do it too. Our library has, like I said, laser cutters, CNC machines, 3D printers. So I've actually met fellow cosplayers by them coming in and using it. It's an underused resource, I think, in a lot of spaces, but every library is different. So build book, if you're, excuse you, bless you. Yeah, Gesundheit.
Especially in this day and age and current climate, use your public library.
Yeah, like just use the public library, tell your county commissioners that you love your library, you know, all the good things. So on Canva, you can make, I sometimes do social posts, like this was my MAGFest announcement social post, I did it there. You can make all different kinds of document sizes, and this could be for internet only, and then you can also make a print version. So if you make a build book on here, you can download it as a PNG or a JPEG to send to the convention, because a lot of times they'll make you upload it in their system while you're applying to be part of the contest. And then you can also download a PDF and print it out. So just something good to keep in mind. They have lots of different sizes here. 8.5 by 11, standard size, I'd recommend that. You can even type in the design size. It will pull up a blank page here. If you are more used to Adobe, think of this like your artboard. So this is the area, the working area, and what will be saved is whatever is within that artboard. That is the page size. On the left-hand side, you have lots of tools here. You have templates you can pull from. And templates are kind of nice because you can type in like game, and then you get game-themed backgrounds. So it can be inspirational for what you might want as like a theme. If you're not as digitally savvy as Nerds Gone Mild and can just create a whole theme based off a game, this is a good way to get inspired by it. So a lot of times I'll type in kind of a mood or a vibe in that design section and then just get a feel for it. You can edit any of these things. So these are all created by artists who I believe work for Canva or get some money from Canva or something. So you can rest assured they're not AI. So if I pull one in, say I wanted to use this, It pulls the entire design in here, and I can change, edit, delete, whatever, everything that's within that design. So if you're doing a build book, you can do this and then duplicate pages to keep the same design, and then change and move things around. That way you have some sort of consistency through the book. If I were to type in here, for instance, I can change this to be plexi. And so all of the items of whatever you pull in are editable. And it's a good way, let me just start deleting things off of here. I can also drag and delete big sections, same way that you would find in Adobe Plexi and laugh. On the left-hand side, like I said, we started at design. Elements would be if you want to pull other objects in, including different squares. Oh, cool, my internet's going to keep cutting out. So anything that, here we go, shapes, stuff like that. Text, so you can add more text to your document. This would be where you would pull in a text box and write your bullet points about maybe what's in the photo beside it. Uploads is the important part, because that's where you would say you took photos on your phone. For me, I'd use my phone and I throw them all into a Google Drive link, and then I open up Google Drive on my computer and download all those photos, and then I can put them here in Canva and upload all the photos. It's probably not gonna let me do much. So I could take this and start selecting all of them, and it will start pulling them into Canva for me to use. So you can take all of your process photos that way. It also includes videos. So if you have processes that are videos, obviously you cannot print a video, but for your digital copy that you're sending to the convention, it can put a video in here, and you can download all of this as an MP4. So they can push play whenever they're through it and watch you do something, whatever it is. So it's something to keep in mind. It's good for social posts too. Put your videos in here. You can make TikToks in here. You can make Instagram Reels in here. You can shove all your videos together. But this would be a really good way to get started by using your designs. Is everyone following so far? Diggity? I like that. Let's see if I can reconnect to the internet once again so I can show you a little bit more. You guys can use my login. I don't even care. It's not my login. Can't be bothered. All right, so it'll pull up all of my photos here, and I can drag them in. Here in the elements, if you keep going down, you can have frames. So I can put a frame here, and then it will pull my photo into the frame. But in the apps, I actually have it loaded here. This is how I make my business cards. So if you were to go in, you could do like generate a code, and it'll pull your QR code in there, and that code will be eternal. So whenever I am in, go home, see if I can find the business card in here.
Mine's in there
Oh,
somewhere.
I have my Dice Tower stuff in here too. A little breakdown of a costume whenever I sent it to the fabric company. You can zoom in. And this is where I would pull in the design. You can even draw and then show what you wanted with that. So there's an idea of a QR code, scan QR code. So you can do this for if you have booths, or if you have, like I said, business cards that you want to hand out. It can go to your website, it can go to an email address, it can go to whatever. You have any questions? Are we doing good? See if I can find someone else's fun one. All right. Oh, I will say one stupid thing. Do not use this as, oh, I have to do this. We really love when you have your pets in some of the pictures. It's it is really weird, but I've never met a judge who was displeased by a cat sitting on some fabric. I saw it whenever we were kind of scrolling through this one. Oh, there it is. It brings deep joy, especially because we're exhausted. We're excited. We're nervous for everybody. Everyone else was nervous when they came in, and then to just see a cat just messing up your fabric, best.
Judging is a long day.
Judging is such a long day. And I know we're talking about build books right now. I really like how this one has headers, so I know exactly what's going to be on that page, because a lot of the times I actually don't look through every page. I'm looking for one specific thing I had a question about. Like, we can glance over everything else, but I'm really interested to know how you did your appliques, for instance, and I would go through, try to find the part of your costume, and then pull it up into the appliques. So having really big, obvious headers, I do really like how this one is set up. It's just very nice because I can see the process, I know where I'm at, it makes sense. Oh, it's fun. This is fun to look at. I like this. I would say, hand dyeing or purchasing something and then dyeing it to the correct color is valued in craftsmanship contests because it shows that you were very precise. You matched it because you had a goal in mind and you did that little bit of extra work. This is a really good process. I like this one. Wig styling, another point to keep in mind is that is important as well. You're making your own wigs. That's part of that 80%. If it's an 80% needs to be made by you, that's one of them. Even just some hand ventilation in the front, even if you didn't ventilate the whole wig. Yeah?
So I was saying, so you consider maybe taking the system with and styling it to make neat, or would
Yeah.
you be taking like the cap and then?
Yeah, okay, so they're asking for wig making, does it have to be like from scratch, like you have a cap, you ventilate everything, whatever? Not necessarily, you can just style the wig, but as long as you're styling it and it looks really good, like that's what matters. A little bit of ventilation in the front, if you notice the hairline's different from what they had, that counts a lot. If you made your wig from scratch, like made the cap and everything, that is the thing to highlight. Like, that is a bonus. You went above and beyond, and that matters. It has weight in the craftsmanship. I've got 10 minutes. Do you have an important question? Because I'm just like rambling at this point, and we can keep going through these, but yes.
I've got at least 3 more, but I don't want to hog.
Go ahead.
So when it comes to individuals that have won with a particular costume that want to re-enter by doing the required 50%, redo, how would you put that into a build book to show what you won with and how you changed?
It's going to depend.
I
So
feel like that's going to take more than 10 pages, like you're going to need your original build.
you'll probably have like an addendum, honestly, at that point. Especially if that's like an important thing to note. Like, say, the question was if you have a costume, you enter the costume, and then you are entering another competition and adding onto the costume, how does that work? And every competition is different, whether or not they even allow that. Some competitions, you kind of have to. Like, you start at a qualifier, and then you have the chance to upgrade your costume. Those are separate things now, because probably the judges already know what you made at that qualifier. We're going to the next part.
More for like, you have costume A, you've won with it at a competition, you now want to take it to costume contest B, and it says you have to remake at least 50%.
Yeah. I would highlight that 50% that you made separately. Yeah, like you really want to prove it. At that point, you're proving that you deserve to be in that contest. So if it's like you have to remake 50% to enter this new competition, show me the 50% you remade. Yeah,
I will say that's not necessarily super common.
yeah, that one's not.
Yeah.
What's up?
In terms of like a beginner competitor versus someone more experienced, like what would you say expectation wise or expected from that like skill difference in terms of like the layout of
The build book? Okay, so the question was from beginner to like master level, what are we expecting from a build book? I have seen master level, I'm gonna use somebody here. Brittany Ganoza Costuming, master level. She cuts out pictures and pastes them on paper and writes. And I enjoy that. It's not about the quality of your build book, it's about showing me what you've done. So none of that will hold you back. I don't care if you're a beginner or a master.
I don't think there's expectations on the build
No,
book.
this is just fun ways to do it and things that you need at a very minimum and what you need to show. Yeah.
Because with the first build work, it was like a very consistent process, it looks like, in terms of like how they brought it together versus like I feel like as a beginner, you might be like learning along the way. So it could be like,
Yes.
you started it like kind of like your plan, like okay, like this is working, and then you like realize either like maybe the glue failed or the beat wasn't working out, and then you like change your process like halfway through, like kind of addressing that.
Yeah, I wouldn't add it in the build book.
No, we addressed that earlier. Don't put in failures.
Yeah, if you started one way and you like have all this content basically to put in a build book, sorry, it's gone. Like if
Yeah,
you changed
you have a
it, don't
limited-
even add it in there.
You have a limited amount of pages and the limited amount of attention span from the judges, even when they're looking back through the build books. So
Yeah.
only what's important.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate part is your content, all that stuff that you made, if it failed, then there's nowhere to put it. It's going to be in your heart forever. That's it.
There was a question over there.
One more question? Yeah?
And we talked about photo quality already, but I've noticed that a lot of these are presuming that people like pay for a photo shoot, so they have one really beautiful like full body photo piece. How expected or required or worth extra points is having that versus if you're just like,
Nah.
here's a picture of it.
No, yeah, it doesn't matter, because a lot of times, whenever you're making this build book, it's before you've gotten to the point where you're like ready for a photographer even. I have walked out in my backyard and put my phone on a tripod and done some photos, and I try sometimes to do makeup. A lot of mine have masks though, so that's a good part for me. I don't have to get in that whole thing. But I will literally go in my backyard and take the photo and be like, this is what it should be, because they get to see it in person. You know, like it doesn't really matter. It's a lot of these ones, especially for like nerds and all them, they have their final photo thing for their own build book use. Like, and they've edited it as they've gone along too. So I'm sure what they submitted the first time is vastly different from what you're seeing here.
Also, a lot of competitions, this is becoming more common, require you never to have entered the costume in another competition, or some actually require you never to have worn it before to a con. It's, you gotta check the con rules. So there are some, I've seen it, that they require this to
It's
basically
like they're-
be brand new for
Yes.
their competition.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
rare, but it is a thing. I
Yeah.
remember seeing that, yeah. And that's like part of their whole marketing thing, but you're like, that really is a kick in the stomach. Hi,
It's like, never done the character before or never done that specific outfit.
that specific outfit. Yeah, you can, I mean, they can't tell you how to like go to the bathroom. Like this is not a thing they can do. They just want to make sure that it's the first time this costume has ever seen the light of day.
Not that
It's
you
rare
haven't, like,
because a
posted
lot of
about it,
people,
but like
yeah.
taking it, like like has this been to another con before? You can't bring it here, kind of a thing.
Again, rare,
Rare, yeah.
because none of us really have time for that. Like, we ain't gonna show up for that, but they try it, yeah. I can take maybe one more question, but they were like already trying to kick me out. I know. That's okay, they just know we're too good, we're just gonna hang out all day, so I feel that. I will, again, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, last one about electronics.
Yeah.
Now, me and a soldering gun equals a fire. So I don't ever plan on programming and soldering my own electronics. If you buy a build-your-own kit, and then you assemble the build-your-own kit for lighting and stuff, would that be okay in competition? Because I'm at a master's level in front of work, tell me this.
I'm so sorry. I know that's like there's a really cool part about winning something, and the downside is you're now a master level, and now you got to like go up against people like Ganoza, and you're like, I just rather
Yeah,
go
we're
lay in
not under
traffic.
the, like, 80%.
So,
I'm not like a mechanical person.
yeah,
Making my own lighting and programming it.
yeah. So here's the question. They're not good at electronics, and if they get their electronics like a kit and then assemble it and put it in the costume, is that valued less than if you did it yourself, like programmed your own thing? I mean, it's valued less. I'm
Yeah.
going to be frank.
That's
You-
also a competition choice.
Yeah.
You chose that costume for that competition, knowing you're not going to be able to
You
do
did that. It's like the meme with the bicycle. You stuck the stick in there. It's just and then you're like, oh gosh, this
A
sucks.
lot of times you want to pick the costume for the competition, knowing the rules ahead of time.
And pick it to highlight what you're really good at.
Yeah.
Like,
You made it up in other categories, like I do make my own shoes, I do make my own wigs, I do make my own.
you're one of those people. You make all the things.
Would it be better to like, if you know you lack a hat, to make it up by doing a
Highlight everything. Like, don't tell them like this is not my best, whatever. Be like, look at this part that I made. I did this. I cobbled my shoe because I mean, if you cobble your shoes, say it because we're all gonna go, wow, that's really cool. Because none of us do that. Like, that's just not a thing. So yeah, like those
Except
things
for
that are really
nerds.
cool. Yeah, nerds does everything. Those parts, highlight those parts. Use your 5 minutes to highlight you and what you're really good at. You don't even have to talk about that soldering stuff. Like, you can just to the side. That's my recommendation on that. All right, cool. So I'm going to try to put these all in a shared drive. Like I said, I'll try to put it on my stories later since I can't contact all of you, so just keep an eye out for it. And I'm also going to post this whole thing on YouTube at some point this week, so if you ever need to go back and look at it, it'll be there too. Thank you so much for coming. There's cards up here if you need them. Have a great rest of your mag.